Nobody goes through.
Well, that's like their best export, and they're probably kicking money to the government to look the other way.
Exactly.
Which is,
That's
I mean,
exactly
that's
what's happening.
fueling the whole country. I mean, that's why you're like, how are they doing?
You know what the biggest this is maybe the best thing that people can use to understand why Mexico is fighting against building the wall and the immigration and stuff.
By the way,
their
the
biggest
FCC
source of income, or their second biggest. I have to look this up, but it was oil because they do have oil and stuff. But one of these two, what's the other one? Is all these fucking Mexicans sending through MoneyGram or fucking what's that other one? Where you send the money through.
Oh, the Western Union things?
There we go. Thank you. Western Union. I think MoneyGram's Canadian. Yeah, Western Union.
I know MoneyGram too.
That's their biggest fucking source of money coming into the country.
Well,
is the fucking illegals that are sending money in. You send these people back, where are they going to get their money? That's why the fucking government, they don't have to fucking provide health care, roads, fucking do anything for their citizens. They just push them to the fucking border, let them go without fucking stopping them, although they're violating international law.
Yeah, they grab a few people if they have to.
And they don't have to take care of their own people.
You know,
they basically get money from those that are outside the country.
They stop the nice families actually want to get out of there a lot of times because they have to. You know, have to be like, we're doing something. But here's the thing. This is very interesting. And first of all, there's something else. I hit record a few minutes ago because this is great. But the second thing is Jake is on his way. Also, the Senate just voted to undo rules covering internet privacy. That's a big thing. We're going to talk about that in a second. But listen to this. This could be amazing for Mexico. This has already worked for Mexico. Think about this. They've created this big automobile industry off of our failure. And while we were failing, they rose up. And they used a lot of this drug money to do it. So it's quite interesting. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if someday they do start cracking down a little bit on it.
It's not just drug money, because here's the thing. That NAFTA has been set up in a certain way, and both Canada and the United States have totally suffered from this, because the biggest group that did benefit was Mexico, who very few people even remember, because nobody reads a goddamn thing, is that Canada and the United States bailed out Mexico. Back in the 90s, when their economy was about to collapse, we paid huge amounts of money to restabilize that corrupt, inept government and that failed state. And on top of that, they got the benefits of NAFTA, where basically all these jobs have been sent there. Car production gets made there. And not only that, they get subsidies from the this is the corporate welfare now.
Yeah.
They get paid from the government because they're building these cars that are coming into the United States. So they get a subsidy, a corporate welfare for that company, so that they can, again, bring these products in that's not made by Americans, that's of shoddy quality, and that only basically emboldens failed states like Mexico to think that they have any sway over Canada and the United States, when in fact is only due to these treaties and such is the reason why Mexico is getting such a good deal. If you make things fair, which is what Trump has said all along, they will be destroyed economically. Why? Because they're garbage. They're a failed state with no systems in place to basically try to improve their country, or industries that essentially are self-sustaining, and that's why they rely on all this external money coming in, because they really don't have the quality of people necessary to build a first world country. Again, something Trump has said. They're not sending you their best. And yes, this is harsh words, but unfortunately, economically, we have to take a look at reality here. Millions of jobs have been lost in North America, Canada, and the United States, and been sent essentially to Mexico or overseas. Why? Because the governments realized that they could make some money and some points with foreign governments and companies by sending those jobs out there and providing cheap products for their economy. And people, would think, oh, well, I'm getting a cheap car, so, I'm not going to worry about the repercussions of what this is going to have on our economy in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I still wonder how Trump's going to pay for the wall, but, they've clearly...
I can tell you.
Okay, how's he going to pay? Well, I mean, it looks like
that's
we're going
the
to
thing,
pay.
though. I've mentioned this in the past, but it's not that he's
Dave.
going to pay. Mexico is going to pay for the wall because any product coming in from Mexico into the United States gets a tariff, gets a tax, especially American companies that are sending the jobs and the manufacturing down to Mexico. Okay, fine. GM, you want to make a car in Mexico? No problem. You're going to pay 40% tax when you want to ship one vehicle into the United States. GM will say, you know what? That starts to really eat into our products and into our profits, I should say. Maybe we should send our company back into the States. And if they don't, well, then that 40% of that money that's taxed on top of that car then goes to the wall building fund, which then starts to accumulate.
Well, what about the people who say that then the charge is going to go way up? Aren't we going to pay more money for those items now that they're here?
For the companies that are dumb enough to produce their products outside of the United States, yeah.
You guys have been listening to Shame on News, and we could use your assistance because obviously Google and YouTube are trying to shut down any free thought or debate that we have, especially here on Shame on News. Therefore, many times we do not get paid. So you guys can support us by going to the main page and donating directly to us using PayPal. Most of us work pretty hard jobs and obviously have to take care of people and do things. None of us are rich or we wouldn't be asking for this, but you can support us by going to the main page on YouTube and clicking PayPal Donate if you feel inclined to do that. Otherwise, just feel free to like, comment, and share the videos and spread the word. Thank you very much for any support you can give us. And thank you to Tom Brierly, who has supported us last week. Thank you so much for that support, Tom. I know you didn't really want to be mentioned too much, but we did want to say something for you. Thanks for listening to Shame on News. More Shame on News now.
But for those that basically produce it in the United States, they're not going to get that excessive tax so that people can continue to actually get good products at a good rate, not an overinflated rate because of taxes, and still be able to afford things. Another thing is those funds that are going into the United States, into Mexico, for example, from the United States using Western Union, for example. Okay, well, 50% of that can be taxed, and any money that goes outside the country gets taxed. And again, this is why there's so many offshore tax havens in the world, including, the Bahamas is one.
Swiss banks.
The Swiss banks, Cayman Islands, and there's Macau. Macau's a big one. A lot of people don't know about that one. But basically, that's why people are sending their money overseas, amongst other things, because when they do, there's no taxation on them. But if you say, okay, all you billionaires and millionaires that live in the United States, you want to keep your money offshore? When you do that transfer, we're gonna take a big cut of that.
Right.
That's how you pay for these systems. You tax those that fucked you over in the past, those that have been going through these loopholes and basically screwing over the working man. So you target these companies that have essentially utilized not only corporate welfare,
but will Trump do that?
Loopholes.
Will Trump actually do that? It seems like he's
been doing it.
Has he?
Have you been following?
No, tell me.
Well, he has. Okay, there's been a lot of different.
It seems like he's been sucking the dick of the rich guys.
Well, that's the perception of the mainstream media that you got to get off. Because that's the Kool-Aid.
I haven't seen exactly, and that's why I'm asking. I mean, it's been hard. It's been hard for me to keep track of it.
Well, then you've got to follow his press meetings. You've got to read the executive orders that he's been releasing because these are public. It's your choice not to read these things.
All right, so tell me, can you tell me right now, or is there a way we can find out now what executive order is it that it's going to bring down, and has he already brought down and affected a millionaire or billionaire who is upset or has come out, or where has this happened? I feel like we would hear
in the United States. Well, you feel, because again, you're brainwashed by the mainstream media. If you're reading the same stuff that I am, you'd be able to talk ad nauseum like I'm doing right now and boring everyone with basically stuff that I've just read. This is
interested.
Not stuff I'm making up. This is stuff that I'm just reiterating because I've read it and I've verified it, through research.
What's the law that's going to bring down somebody what's the executive order that he's filed that's going to take down these people?
You can't be so simplistic. You have to, the problem is that legally there's a lot of different laws in place right now that are protecting these groups, including groups like the Wall Street banksters and such.
But you told me that Trump
you've got to enact several laws into place so that it can affect the whole picture. You can't just say, okay, well, what's that one law? What, you want him
just
just
said
to
there was. You
basically
just said
sign
this is
martial
what he's
law?
doing.
You want him to just sign martial law and start civil war?
No.
He's got to do things legally, unlike the Democrats.
That's what I'm asking you. Is what is the? You just told me he legally signed something into power that would stop these maybe not criminals, but these
Do
people.
you know
from,
how many executive orders he's signed since he got into power? He's
Yeah, like the
he's
most
been the
ever.
most busy president since I'd probably have to say maybe.
I will say that we've only
FDR,
heard about
long ago.
We've only heard about the 5 to 10 that really piss off the liberals. And by the way, well, I don't know about all of the other ones because the news refuses to cover it. They've only covered the ones that actually aggravate me, to be honest. But so from my point of view, I will say that the spin, because I haven't read and so I need to. But from what I've heard, and this is how you can be polluted, everyone who's listening, by the way, if you hate Trump, if you love Trump, whatever it is, if you hate Trump, it's very easy to hate him more because the 5 to 10 executive orders that I myself have heard about terrify the fuck out of me, and he's signed them. So I am very negative towards Trump in my mind right now. Perhaps there's 90% of the orders he signed I would agree with, and perhaps 10% I'm infuriated by. I don't like
because you don't have I ask you about the knowledge, you don't know. Like, well, I don't know. Well, then what are you infuriated about?
Well, I asked
because
you
of your
about the
ignorance,
knowledge
or because
a
what
minute
the mainstream media is telling you. You
Well,
see, you're not
well,
watching the mainstream media, but where are you getting your fucking information
Well,
from?
I just told you that to me it doesn't seem like he's really doing anything to protect.
Why? Where do you get that perspective
Because
from?
everything he's done that I've seen so far helps rich
where
people.
have you seen it from? Where?
He's putting more money into the military.
Where have you
Okay.
seen that from? Where are you getting this information?
More money. The military? He said it himself.
Where did you see that? What is the source?
All right, give me a second. I'll pull it up.
Because I'm looking at the list of executives order right now.
Look
You'd asked
at
about
the expenditures and look at defense.
You're shifting the goalpost here.
I'm
you
not
were
trying
talking initially about the executive orders.
Well, yeah, we just
And that the fact that your perception is that he's doing doing wrong. But again, the thing is, though, you're going from business, now you're going to military expenditure. We got to keep things on a one at a time here if
All
we're
right.
going to debate things properly. I'm looking at an executive order right now in regards to hold on a second here. Well, there's this one, presidential executive order on restoring the rule of law, federalism, and economic growth by reviewing the waters of the United States rule. That's territory and other stuff. Presidential executive, another one, order on enforcing the regulatory reform agenda. Okay. And again, there's a lot of essentially regulation, taxes and fees that are essentially forced onto the American economy, and small business owners can't basically do well with those, and people can't start new businesses because of all these different regulation rules, as well as the fees that are involved with actually trying to build new capital. So those are just two that I've listed here, and there's so many more. I can keep talking and stuff, but again, the point, what I'm saying is that just because you're getting a perception of something, if it's coming from the mainstream media, then it's clearly discounted. If you want to look at the facts, they're out there. And I've been doing as much research as I've got the time available to examine this. And this is what I have to reiterate to everyone. I'm not a Trump cheerleader. It might sound like that, but the fact is I'm looking at what has been done, like specifically what has been said and how that's then been put into law due to what Trump has done. And again, there's a lot of good stuff that he's doing. There's a lot of bad stuff that I can't agree with. The increase in military expenditure is a longer debate that we could ever have.
What do you think
about this? I don't fully
this?
agree with that, but there's things that he is doing well, and we have to recognize that the hit that's currently going on Trump is specifically being done by globalists, not Republicans or Democrats. That's out of the window now. There's either Americans or there's globalists. You either care for your country or you don't. And those that want to see your country ruined are the globalists.
What about the fact that 1.6 million kids are going to lose after-school programs?
Do you mind citing a source?
I can cite many sources, including the Washington Post, which sucks.
Again, here's another thing that you have to understand. I don't know everything. Okay, I'm trying to
I
follow
don't
the
either.
stuff
You've
that I
got me
feel-
on a couple things. I'm going to admit that. I've got you on. What I'm saying here is that there's a lot of things that people are hearing, and not everybody really knows what's going on, including, I believe, yourself, but me as well. All I know is what I can tell you based on when a different person, usually a different liberal person comes to me with their most angry thing that they're mad at, and then they explain everything that's happening, and then I go, okay, well, I guess he is doing that.
You know, that the same thing happened, exactly the same thing happened with this whole Trump bugging of Trump Towers and all that stuff. When we initially talked about this on a few episodes back, you had mentioned that.
How many vacations has he taken, by the way, so far? Do we know that?
What's that?
How many vacations has he taken so far? Do we know that?
I think a couple.
I thought he said he wouldn't take a vacation until something or other. He said some.
Hold on. Are we talking about what? Like, what do you want to talk about?
I'll hit it all.
Don't be a liberal and stop shifting the goalposts. You want to talk about one thing?
I'm telling you all the reasons why I'm disappointed. I'm telling you all the reasons why I'm disappointed. That's one. He's already said it's the countless things that he said. Now listen, if you called Trump out on this and he had to explain himself, here's what I believe Trump would say, or here's the truth, which by the way I don't necessarily disagree with. I get his point on this. I believe Trump, when pinned in a corner about all this stuff and had forced Trump answer me, Trump would say, "What was I doing when I was running for president? I was politicking and I was campaigning."
What are you talking about? He's already gone through several things that he said that he was going to do. Look at all the ICE arrests that are going on around the United States right now. He said he was going to deport those that are criminals, that are the highest risk, and he's doing that. He's already enacted the law on getting the funding for the wall. He said that he's doing that.
Yes, he has done
Basically,
all the things.
Look,
all the terrible things.
You initially had talked about this with me the other day in regards to the fact that, he said that he's being bugged. Like, that sounds like a joke and stuff. I said, no, it's not. A few days later, the actual information came out. I tweeted you. It proved him right again. And the fact is, initially, the story was, how can he be so crazy, or how can he be so duplicitous to say that he's not involved with, that he's being bugged and all this stuff. This is bullshit. He shouldn't even say this sort of thing. But then the story evolves, the truth comes out, and it's proven that although it sounded, very outlandish, he was right. The same thing applies to a lot of other stuff that he's doing right now.
Can you tell me who proved this? Now I'm asking you. The reason why I'm asking you to tell me who proved this is because I didn't read the article. And number two is I've been asked this by Leah, and I can't give her an answer. I don't know how to answer her.
The Congressional Comey Committee that happened just a few days ago.
What is that? What is that? What is the Congressional Comey Committee?
See, the problem is that you're trying to have me cover all information, like all these different things that have been happening, and then shifting the sort of conversation. We have to stick to one conversation here.
The we're going down a
was
road
basically asked to speak in front of the Congressional Committee.
Yeah. And testify.
Comey, who is the director, who's a piece of garbage, and clearly decided that he was, he'd rather stay alive than convict Hillary Clinton. He basically admitted to spying on Trump, although he did try to give them the runaround. There was other intelligence individuals, CIA, NSA, who came out and said that, incidentally, this Project Dragnet, Google it. Yep, it sort of swept up, or it caught up a bunch of intelligence and included Trump Towers. That's two. So those are just two that occurred, and there's multiple that basically reveal. And the most important thing is WikiLeaks revealed months ago. So basically, the evidence was there. The liberal media poo-pooed it and tried to make anyone that even listened to the information he was saying as a crazy. The information is finally coming out, proving that Trump was right, that yes, Obama had authorized tapping and information gathering from Trump and his campaign committee from the very beginning. And people are still sort of shitting on that when the evidence is finally out. This is the confirmation bias that the left has that seems to, again, unfortunately, make people like you say, well, people are saying, or I heard this, or this is what they said. Yeah, they always say that at the beginning. When the information comes out, they make up some new sort of lie against Trump, oh, Russia, this and that. I mean, it's a pattern now, people. You've got to realize that the establishment, the deep state, clearly has it out for Trump. Why? Because he wants to destroy globalism.
You're just a conspiracy theorist. That's not true. They would never do anything like that. Don't you love that? That's what I've heard 100 times.
I agree with you. I think you win that round on that. I will do some
It's
better.
not about winning or losing. I fear for the safety of the planet.
Well,
I fear for you guys. Because the globalists want to eat us alive. They want to make us slaves. We are in 1984.
But
you might hate Trump because of his hubris, because of his arrogance, because of his hair. Who cares? The fact is, he is one of the few that's actually standing up against the people who've been trying to enslave us, for the last 60 years.
I get that he has sort of been doing that, but there's another side of this that scares me because he has literally done some bad things as well. So it's not. I see him almost as dangerous.
What bad thing? Did he nuke North Korea yet? Or
all right,
that's the bad thing you're talking about. He said that he could grab people from the pussy. Yeah.
You think I care that he said that? You think I care that he said? He could have said that I fuck sheep on my spare time. I wouldn't have cared.
So what is it that's so bad about him?
Okay, so let's step back a little bit. Let's go to the one thing that I brought up a second ago. Trump budget. Closing the school programs. That's 1.6 million kids, right? That's an after-school program. These are mothers that are working jobs that really don't pay a lot of money, so the kids have to be in these after-school programs. Deadbeat dads, bad decisions, too many kids, people who are working, perhaps. Now, I understand that perhaps the Republican side would argue that maybe some of these people are just sitting at home or something. While their kids are after school programs, but I don't believe that. I think 80% or more, are probably working. That's why they want the kid to go to the after school program. The kid gets to, play sports, paint, do extra homework, whatever they need to do after while their mother works, gets home at 5, picks them up at the school. It makes sense. They come home from work, they pick them up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever it is after school. This is 1.6 million people. If they don't have this, people really don't know what to do. Drop them off at a friend's house, do something else. They don't know. This is structure that the kids are getting. That they wouldn't have gotten normally, and they would have grown up maybe with their friends or over someone's house where maybe the mother doesn't work and she collects welfare and doesn't really give a shit. And now the kid's hanging out with those kids all day, every day, instead of the after-school program. So they're losing that structure.
Are you done with the sob story? Because I can basically explain what the issue is here. And it's not the fact
not a sob story.
It is a sob story when you go on so long by saying, "Oh, well, these poor kids,
I'm trying to paint the face on it. I'm trying to paint the face on it.
That is a problem. I totally agree with that. But here's the thing, though. You're asking about the bill and the funding and stuff. Have you ever even bothered to look into I've worked in school boards before. Have you ever bothered to look into the corruption, the waste of funds and money, the total inept and negligent people that are supposedly guarding your kids?
You're absolutely
no,
right.
I agree with you.
Including daycare costs.
Veritas recently released videos showing teachers basically admitting that they've been abusing kids in class, and not only that, they gloated at the fact that they knew methods on how to not leave marks on the kids.
Yeah, but explain this. Well, Dave, what the hell does that have to do with? Any kid that goes to school can be abused. There's kids fucking kids. There's teachers fucking kids.
The system is corrupt.
I agree with you. I agree with you. There's bad people out there.
But cutting funding for after-school programs doesn't help.
That are connected to schools.
So let's So let's ban all the guns because some guns are bad. Let's ban all the fucking schools. Let's ban 1.6 million kids are poor. Well, no, I'm trying to compare it. I'm comparing it for you. 1.6 million kids. Okay, so if out of 1.6 million kids, 1,000 are abused or something happens between 1,000 kids, should we just shut the whole program down?
I've given you other examples, too. How
about putting these people in jail? How about putting them in jail? How about investigating them? How about that?
Exactly.
How about take $1 million? How about take... All right, 1.6 million kids, right? How about take $500,000 off the program, hire investigators to fucking go into these places and put hidden cameras in there and start fucking arresting some of these people? That's what you can do. Don't take away the program from the kids. So there's an after-school program. 30 kids go and they play basketball for an hour after school. One time, and that happens all over the country.
Yeah, because it's the federal government's job to take care of each little state who, although gets a bunch of money, can't seem to figure out how to run their own fucking programs, right? Although that we should continue to respect states' rights. Which is it? A federal centralized system like a fucking commie? Or each states get to decide their own fate as per a proper republic as the United States of America?
So I don't think it should be either or, though, Dave. I think it should be together. I think it should be a joint system. There should be a way to combine the two to work together so that, you know, there's checks and balances in place to keep things like this from happening, to keep principals from having multiple homes and vacations and siphoning funds from the school into their personal 401k account. You know, and instead, you know, those after-school programs make a world of difference.
Why
it
are we
keeps
penalizing
kids from going into gangs and from, you know.
Well, you know,
why
Betsy
are we penalizing?
Davos,
why are we penalizing the kids?
Trump's lady basically is supporting school vouchers, which again allows parents to choose where their kids go to school, and therefore that's where the funding is going to be directed. I mean, people shit on her, but the fact that she's doing things that would actually benefit the system that many liberals would think is good.
The public school system will fall apart if that happens.
Exactly,
no,
and then
because
the
there's already voucher systems in place, and they work very well because even families that are sort of in the poverty level have that those lotteries. And again, parents will wait in line for days so that their kid will get that one lottery chance so that they can get that voucher system. But what does that prove? Even schools that are located in these poverty areas but are voucher based produce students that are probably 10 times better than the typical public school system. Why? It's the state's ineptitude. And I've worked in the school systems, so I can speak about this personally.
Yeah,
but Dave, what about the people that don't get, you know, into the voucher system? What about those kids?
I mean, you're putting like I mean, like two to 15 kids get the voucher, and then the other 300 don't. I mean,
you know what?
I don't understand.
You guys are right. Let's spend the fucking country into oblivion. Let's go right on ahead and spend it all. You know, spend it everywhere. Who cares about the ineptitude and the fucking government corruption? Let's just keep spending it.
No, that's not at all what I'm saying.
Well, you guys aren't fucking providing any solutions. I've already told you exactly what the problem is, what Trump is doing to address that, how these things are all
you said the problem was the corruption.
And you guys continue with this goddamn sob story. Oh, the kids and 1.6 million. You guys aren't even holding the states accountable.
No, I am holding the states accountable, but you're saying your argument was that the reason that you don't care about this is because of the corruption that goes on there.
It's not that I don't care. It's I've been
to school.
There.
I've seen it.
I know what it's like. I know who does the shit and who's fucking taking the money.
So, Dave, I'm a product of the system myself. I've gone through it. I had free lunch at school. I didn't have the best of everything.
Did you work for a school board?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you know about the inept principals.
Absolutely. I was part of a $12 million revitalization project, right? And what they were doing was they were building a restaurant for the culinary program that I was a part of. So I got to come when they had, I forget the name of the company that came in. It was like a NAFTA type group where they went ahead and they had to assess everything. So we had to take these people around the school. It was like a national accreditation program. So while being on the school board, because I was employed by the Board of Education at the age of 17 to go ahead and help them, you know, like basically discern where the funds would go. We had our VOAG program in our high school. We had all sorts of things. And the reason we had the VOAG program that was so important to the school is that program would allow people to be bussed in from other counties and communities to go to our school because it was basically like a selection or choice for a child. So it gave them a chance.
So were you in school at this time and an employee?
Yes.
See, that's a waste of money right there. If you're a pupil, then you could be doing these things as a volunteer, and therefore that's fun.
This was before and after school hours. This had me there at 5 until 7 at night.
You could still be a volunteer. Again, a lot of interns have to work for free.
Can I explain one thing?
This is a waste of school.
Can I explain something?
Not for the amount of work that I did, but is that they got to choose and pick where the money went, and then suddenly, oh well, we had to cut back on the restaurant. Oh, we had to cut back on this, but the office has air conditioning now, and it slowly but surely turned. They were supposed to get a whole new auditorium for the kids, and the music was supposed to be updated, and all the. And then it just slowly dwindled away, and accidents happened, and things changed, and the wrong people benefited more than what was promised.
Yeah, but Jake, a student ambassador is different from the role that I had, which was in administration. Okay,
I wasn't just an ambassador, Dave. I was actually involved in the planning.
Did you? No, but here's the thing. What I'm saying is that I actually worked with the actual management, with the actual administration. I went to board meetings. Like, it's not about, okay, well, this could be a good program. I'm working in the system.
I did this for following out of high school.
Can I state
state
what the Republicans or what the Republican side and the Trump side has been saying? The reason why this stuck out at me is because they're fighting it. Their response to, like, oh, how could you cut all this stuff? Their response is there's no proof that this improves the quality of life or improves the grade scores for the kids. That's the defense. So their thing is, oh, this doesn't help the kids. And
you think they just said it out of the blue without actually citing any facts, huh? Can you cite?
Well, I certainly haven't seen any
for me.
Well, but Dave, back to my point is instead of trying to discredit me, I'm agreeing with you. I'm actually telling you, yes, you're right.
I'm not discrediting you. I'm just saying that the perspective can be quite different from one role to another.
Yes, well, beyond me being in high school, I was also involved with these, the companies and the actual school board.
Hey, did any teachers ever try to fuck you? You were 17.
Firsthand. I'm agreeing with you. Money is wasted beyond belief, beyond recognition. It's impossible to fathom where some of these funds are even being sent to. It's like a shell company.
I can tell you $8,000 to replace a goddamn hinge that I could have done for basically 50 cents in 30 minutes of my time.
I will tell you
those things happen
listen, here's the
incessantly.
thing, though. I agree with this 100%. My solution to this whole thing is not to end 1.6 million kids' after-school programs. My solution is, how about handle the fucking money better, and if you don't, you're going to go to jail. How about that? Or you're going to pay for it. That's what I'm going to do. I don't want to see these kids lose the program, but I also don't want to just throw the country's money out. And because honestly, I'll tell you right now.
Maybe you should start to read some.
Dave?
February 3rd, 2017, executive order on core principles for regulating the United States financial system.
I mean, there's so much that's screwed up, and I mean, we've touched upon other issues too, like affirmative action that we've seen, and a personal
wait till you
friend
see a
of
whole
mine.
lot more criminal murderers in a couple of years when these fucking kids aren't getting the right fucking deal, and their parents had to quit the job, and now their parents are living off welfare. Now they're going to take more money.
That's the typical liberal scare tactic that's used to basically keep fucking funds going to school boards when they should be all arrested for criminal negligence.
Well,
yeah, but I'm talking
not
about
all
the kids,
of them, but some of it's an actual issue, Dave. Because I mean, think about this: if you look at it, child care is very expensive. So if you're in a single parent or even a two-parent household, one of the parents' incomes goes to paying for child care just so that they can work. I mean, and then that goes into, all right, well, minimum wage isn't enough for an actual living wage, so that's an issue.
I'm not trying to tell a sob story. I'm just trying to tell you the facts. The facts is 1.6 million kids can't go to this fucking school program. Parents can't really afford it. That's just a fact. It's not that the parent sucks, is lazy, and obviously, yes, the parent, maybe they could have gotten a better job.
Again,
maybe they could whatever.
Can you cite me a stat? Can you cite me a source?
1.6 million. Washington Post, CNN, Fox. Yahoo News, you can look it up on there. Even though Yahoo's a bunch of scumbags.
A lot of fake news there. Again, these people, the same people that were saying that Trump
do you want to march down to the school after program in Boston?
Ass because he was, he said that Obama was tapping him. That's been proven right. So again, are we going to allow the story to play itself out, or are we going to continue to jump on Trump for every time the MSM tells us to do so? They say jump, we say how high, right?
So we just argued over nothing then, because none of this was true. So you argued with me about all this stuff, but in the end, so you disagree. 1.6 million kids will not lose the after-school program.
You're putting words in my mouth. Again, typical liberal tactics.
Say? You just told me that what I said was false.
For a citation.
I did. I gave you one, and then you said it was fake.
No, you said, "Oh, well, CNN." Okay, you maybe want to give me a headline that I can research, that I can look into.
All right, let's go with Washington Post, because it's a printed newspaper and it's a little bit more findable and believable than CNN fucking dribble. Washington Post, or you can look up the Fox News. Look up the Fox one. Fox will spin you on why it's okay, but their numbers are accurate. Even if it was 1 million and not 1.6, but let's say it is 1.6, as Washington Post says, allegedly it's 1.6. Now, the reason why I bring this up, too, is because the first thing I know is the local places in Boston that are getting cut, because they're in the news, and they're actually going to the schools and interviewing the school about the funding. Where does 70% of your funding come from? So that's what started me on this. Then I started digging and looking around, and now I see that the numbers appear to be about 1.5, 1.6, 2 million, CNN says, so I believe 1.5, 1.6. 1.6 million, according to the Washington Post. Trump budget after-school programs for 1.6 million kids. Most are poor, so these will be cut. And a lot of these are funded through the government program. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's some of the things. The government funding program, which I don't remember the name of. You have to Google it, look it up. I don't fucking know. I don't have it in front of me because I didn't expect to talk about this. But they're the ones who dish out the money to all these other agencies who then lend the money out. So you're having third-party agencies that are receiving money that decide who to dish out the money to, and that's why no one follows up on this shit. Because the government, once they give it to that third party who hands out the money, there's no one responsible for it. They have no idea what the fuck happened because the government just get, here's your fucking money and run. I've always said this too. When I was on food stamps, for a couple years. And I've always worked. I've always 15, 16 years straight of working, except for 8 months when I didn't work. I was on food stamps. Now, I had one kid, me and my wife, right? 3 of us. And a motherfucker, they gave us $600 a month for food. And they also gave us WIC, like the local thing, and so you could get $60 worth of food. Basically, you would be able to survive off WIC, right? You would have milk, water, cheese, bread, and a couple other things. So,
yeah, they give you milk, formula, eggs, things like that.
So
juices.
let's be honest. That's really all you need in desperate times, right? Like okay, you're not working, you're not doing enough work, whatever the fuck. You're getting at least the bare essentials to keep you alive. You're not getting all the perks. You're not getting some extra things, there's no cash. And listen, we have it better than anybody ever believes, right? Because right now, and Dave's got a point. I know where Dave is thinking about this.
You owe the world everything, don't you?
After those 8 months,
you
I
owe
felt
nobody
bad.
nothing.
What are you talking about?
You don't owe paying this money to foreigners or to foreign aid and stuff. American money should be kept for Americans.
I agree. What the hell does that have to do with the food stamps?
Yeah.
Well, the fact is that, again, you're talking about all this virtue signaling. Oh, we got to help people. No, you got to help Americans.
No, I was trying to. No, Dave.
That's what he was saying.
No, let's back up. What I'm trying to tell you is I am saying that. What are you listening to? So my point.
Including the illegals in the schools?
Where did that come from? There's illegals.
Well, yeah,
that's a whole different
seem to help out quite a lot of illegals.
How many illegals does it help
Where's
compared
your
to
source
actual
for that,
Americans?
Dave? Where's your cited source for that?
I'm gonna have to pull that up for you.
How many children are in school that are illegals? Like what the fuck? I mean, like.
Okay, well,
what if it's
54% of which school was it? This recent Rockville rape thing. 54% of that school. There you go.
Where is that, in
I've been
California?
talking to a few people. There was 2 illegals that basically raped a girl in the high school bathroom. They were laughing and high-fiving during the court sentencing. And I can't remember his name, but he's been tweeting me about this. But he lives just around the corner from that school, and he's been Ajax,
California,
Ajax on
Texas,
Twitter.
or
and he's
Nevada?
been telling me that basically. It's worse than people are saying.
So wait a minute. Let's back up again. Texas, California, Nevada. What state was this?
Let me just quickly look it up here. It was the Rockville rape.
It was probably one of the ones on the border. But here's the thing: even if the number, like excuse.
Yeah. Oh well, just on the border.
You think like?
Well, no, it's easier for them to get over from the border and then enter into the school zone.
So you think 50% of the Boston public school is illegals?
Yeah. What are they doing? Swimming? They're coming over through Plymouth Rock.
I don't know. Do you have any sanctuary cities near you?
I'm in Boston.
There you go.
You think they're 50% are illegals?
No. Who said that? I said in this
You did.
particular no, I said in this particular example, 54% illegals.
Okay.
But you had asked it. You said, "Well, where's that?"
Let's pretend it's 20.
You were asking initially, "Well, where's your citing for this?" And I was providing my citing as to this particular school that there was illegals that were basically taking advantage of the after school system, after school program systems that were essentially in place.
All right, back up. So our original point through all this. Our original point was we were talking about the school system, the after-school funding that was getting taken away, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then Joe had shared his story, and I commented about WIC and things like that.
Real quick,
how did it turn into illegals?
Let me finish this out real quick.
Because these programs that people just keep throwing money at aren't just for Americans. They're for those that are trying to milk the system, as the illegals do.
Separate issue.
And allow for more funding to continue to be given to school boards without even questioning where that money is actually going.
This is such a separate issue. If I'm in charge of this country, we are fucking figuring out who the fucking illegals are and what is going on with who's coming in the country and who's deemed illegal or illegal or whatever.
Trump's doing that.
Okay, that's fine. I agree with it. There you go. That's fine. But I'm not punishing let's say 20% of all the schools involved in this 1.6 million kids that are poor that get this assistance. Let's say 25% are illegals. Okay? I don't give a shit. The other 75% are Americans, and I'm going to help them, and we can get the other 25% out of that 1.6 million by getting the illegals out of here or figuring out how to make them illegal. That's what I'm doing on the outside.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is
give
nothing
it to all, and then you figure it out.
I'm not going
to
punish.
You don't cut funding in the meantime.
You don't give it to all because all don't deserve it. Only Americans, not illegals.
Why don't you
if
say
you're there illegally and
schools?
you're a child where unfortunately your parent was a criminal who basically condemned you to being deported, I'm very sorry, but as an immigrant, I take it as an insult that others think that they're owed something because they just got in there and I'm an illegal when my parents busted their asses off to get where they are.
No, I agree with you.
Dave,
I actually agree with you, Dave, on that.
I
get
agree
that.
with you too.
But here's
another issue that kids go ahead and let's say my wife and I are Mexican. We illegally enter the United States. We go ahead. We live in Texas, and we have a child. That child's a citizen now.
No,
so
that's an anchor baby that should not be recognized.
Exactly. That's another issue that needs to be addressed too.
But this is all separate. Like I agree, Dave. I agree with
you on these points.
It's not all separate
because the bottom line is that these school boards. You're talking initially about the 1.6 million kids that now don't have these programs. Granted, I understand your grievances. I'm going to address them. But the problem is a big portion of those kids are illegals. That money should not be going to them. That means that if say for example,
I got an idea.
Say for example, it wasn't 1.4 million kids. It was or 1.6 million. It was just 1 million kids.
Okay.
Right. That means 600,000 are illegals. All that money that's being spent spread out over that shouldn't be. It should be only for the American kids, the ones in poverty and all that. And those 600,000 illegal kids can't be spent on. They have to be removed from the system.
So you're going to take away from all the kids because you want to not make sure the illegals don't have it. That doesn't fix anything because now the kids that are Americans aren't getting their after-school
forces the states
program.
to basically decide, are we going to have sanctuary cities or are we going to actually protect our own citizens and try to spend our money efficiently?
How about this?
You can't force a government bureaucracy to be effective unless you do cut their budget. Because if it was up to them, they'd keep asking for more money every year. And for someone that's worked in the school board, Jake, you should know that.
Oh, I do understand that. It's never ending. The hands are always out.
It's not never ending. You take a stand against these unions and these corrupt individuals. You say your money's done. You have a decision to make now. Do you protect what you promised to originally, or do you fucking acquiesce to all these illegals and all these wasted systems?
Would this work? Because my idea is, well, okay, why not give once we validate the citizens? Why not give them a tax cut or some kind of monthly assistance with this instead of giving it to these programs that we don't know what the fuck happens? Why don't we go?
I think that's a better idea. To be quite honest, I don't think
that's what I would do. I would say, listen,
Yeah, but now we were talking about different thing. We're talking about the fact of
Well, I want to resolve it. No,
managing
Dave.
this rather than just giving money like just handouts.
Yes.
We examine how do we do this so efficiently that every kid that really needs it not only gets it but benefits from it.
That's absolutely true.
Well, here's the thing about that. What I like about it, in a way, what I like about it is it allows privatization. It allows private groups and things to come up, businesses to come up from this. Daycare businesses would sprout. Also, you're giving the money directly to people you know. But however, you'd also have to find a way to work around the money, because now you're giving money.
Hold on. Now, here's a very important
thing. They can take advantage of that still.
You're raising a very good point now. You talked about private enterprises basically having the opportunity to assist. But what people don't recognize, and I know this firsthand, is that capitalism actually allows for nonprofit organizations to benefit. So when a nonprofit organization is actually efficient enough that they can operate, and not only that, they're doing things with volunteers quite often. If you can get organizations like that into play to compete against private organizations, there's a good chance that they're the ones who are going to get the money, because they're doing things not only altruistically with a lot of volunteers, but they're doing things efficiently where they can compete with somebody, in the economy on a capitalistic nature, which means that they're probably more likely to get that funding. I agree with that. But again, it all falls down about effectiveness and efficiency, and government bureaucracy have proven to be inefficient.
Well, here's another point to this, too, that would help. First of all, I don't think you should give the parents money. I think you should give them like a card or something where everybody has to accept it. Like legally, they have to accept it and they get paid by the card or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. But the other thing is, this would allow for competition between them, but it also gives the parent a choice then. So, and I'm saying only if you did this for real. There's some Republicans out there that would say all this, and this would never really go this way. Because they once they put the program in place, they think, oh, capitalism will take place, and I'm out of here now. Well, I want to make sure it actually fucking works, too. So
it's either globalists or Americans, because quite honestly, what's his name? Ryan, whatever. Paul Ryan?
Yeah, he's a dude.
That fucking piece of shit. He calls himself a Republican. He's a globalist. It's as simple as that. So again, you've got a lot of rhinos, Republican in name only. That's what they're referred to, who again are just trying to basically sabotage Trump, so they continue to work with the Democrats to keep sucking their dick. So again, it's not one party against the other. It's basically globalists versus Americans. It really is that simple.
And you're right too about privatized and they have a. I want to say this the right way.
Oh, this place sucks. Well, Jake, real quick, this place sucks. I'm going to take my kid here. It's not like I have to bring them to that high school where that guy kind of is weird or that teacher's kind of fucking weird. They have no choice but to bring them to the school. That's their only choice, unless fucking grandma and grandpa are home. But this would allow. Well, we're going to fund. The money is going to come to the parents that they need help for it. And they can choose where to bring their kids. So if Steffi Jones fucks up with the kids one day, hey, I'm bringing my place to super after school program because that place sucks. That has a worker that's terrible. That worker touched a kid. Okay.
My neighbors moved from Connecticut to California, and the school system out there they have is damn near impeccable for the certain area that they're in, because the way it works is it's all competition based essentially. Like Dave and you were saying, with capitalism comes competition. The schools are basically against each other in a sense that, well, not only do we offer this, and this, but we also have a pool in an equestrian program. And the other schools like, well, we have that and, a whole art system in place and a music board and, things like that. So they get to choose, the parents, essentially where their money goes, how it's being spent. And it like you said, that competition-based, education system breeds better, education systems altogether. So I agree with both of you.
We got to move off this topic because we have to really get to this last thing real quick. I think if me, you, and Dave were running something, I feel like we're all on the same page as far as like what would fix it. I just don't. I just don't know if we're like on the same page as far as the coldness of the result of what's going to happen, like, and what actually is going to happen.
Don't worry, guys. With a few more books, you guys could be on my level.
I will never be on your level because I could read a book and it wouldn't work. So
someone just said a huge forest fire by burning books in Florida too.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, the Nazis have taken over the forest. Lawmakers voted Thursday to repeal a historic set of rules aimed at protecting consumers' online data from their own internet providers in a move that could make it easier for broadband companies to sell and share the customer's usage information for advertising purposes.
And browser history.
And browser history, yeah. So you could that could be
Heard
public.
about that today.
So it's you could essentially like let's say like you're fucking around one night, you're drunk or something, and you start typing in like I'm gonna kill like this person or like whatever the hell, and you're not doing anything wrong. You're just fucking typing it in. Well, now if something happens and anybody ever questions you or the police ever investigate you, they can pull up your browser history.
Well, we've all been there where we've had that drunk friend hanging around our computer. We step away for a moment and they've just messed shit up.
Right.
Like imagine the repercussions from something like that where you can't necessarily prove that person, or if you're having a party or something, somebody somehow gets onto your computer and, you know, they do things and yet it's traced back to you and you can't necessarily prove that it wasn't you.
Well, then, but I mean, can they prove that it was you? I mean, you know, maybe not. Maybe you could say.
Look at the Casey Anthony trial that they had a while back, where she had, you know, been. I think she was found guilty, where she killed her daughter. But they had searched chloroform on the computer, and they had known that by going through to the ISP to see what her browser history was. It wasn't even on the computer itself. They had the searches logged through their service provider. Yeah, and they saw that she had searched chloroform, and they ended up saying, "Oh no, we were looking for chlorophyll," but that's what the girl was knocked out with before being strangled and killed and stowed away.
If the cops can use it to lead them to evidence that's proof, I like that. I don't like if it's actually used as the evidence because I feel like there's too many faults in it. You know, if it would have to be so insanely specific because it's almost like there could be just an unlucky search. I mean, like, you know what I mean?
Well, but here's the thing. They can tell by what keystrokes were used, and they know the habits of the users. I mean, all this was overturned by using the little-used Congressional Review Act. And Richard Blumenthal, who was in Connecticut beforehand, Blumenthal actually was the one that said I couldn't have my brain surgery. He went ahead and said that it cost too much to get out-of-network care and voted against me, basically to die. He sent me to death, so I always hated that fucking bastard. I got a personal vendetta against him, I'll be honest, so I'm being out in the open. But he, before the vote, said that this resolution is a direct attack on consumer rights and privacy. But then he goes ahead and changes his mind afterwards by, you know, basically flip-flopping on the issue. So hope you enjoy it while it lasted. You know, now you're basically at the whim of corporations like Google, and Google wanted to go ahead and install. They wanted to compete with Comcast, Time Warner. They wanted to install, you know, that gigabit internet. But what you also forget about is, as good as that would be to bring down the prices of, you know, the monopolized internet market that Comcast and Time Warner has cornered themselves. Then everything would be under Google. I mean, think about how much access Google has into our lives already with, you know, email and YouTube and searches and all that. Now, if everything you watched, did, spoke with, talked to went through their pipeline, they would basically be able to, you know you 99%, you know, with certainty. Who you are, what you do. And the thing is, the police, you know, like right now, if I'm searching things, then all of a sudden I you know, something pops up or something searches, they can tell by my IP address which item in the house was used to search that. Was it my tablet? Was it my cell phone? Was it my laptop? And they could say, I could say, oh, a friend was on the laptop. And they could say, well, no, because at 4:13 p.m. you searched for WWE news, and at 4:12 p.m. we saw you use these keystrokes to type that fits your computer language. You know, it's that detailed and that scary.
What I would ask everybody who maybe doesn't care about this or disagrees, would you like your cell phone or your phone at home, where whenever you speak to someone, would you like that tapped and monitored? Like every single time you do anything, it's always recorded on you? You would probably say no. Well, that's what the computer is doing now. So everything you do is traceable. And that's just how it is. So why are we accepting this? Like, it seems completely against the constitutional to be able to do this. It's almost like treating the internet as like, for some reason you're working more loosely on the internet. You know what I mean? You're saying maybe things you don't really say in real life. You're doing things maybe you don't really do in real life. You could click on a link by accident that you didn't intend to go to. Sure. If you're, you know what I mean, there could be a program even installed into one of your browsers that takes you to a fucking weird website that is illegal or something, that's dialing up in the background that you may never realize, and that could come up every month every time you go to check your FICO score or something. And they could find that, and they could say, well, here's your history. Your last 6 months you've gone to this site every fucking blah, blah, blah. And then you would have to prove, no, I was going to look at this at the same time I was going to my FICO or whatever, and that site was popping up. So I guess you could prove it. But again, the internet is being treated like a more viable source than an actual phone conversation that you might have when it's used way more loosely than a phone conversation or a personal I can't even talk conversation.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, the oligopoly, of the market right now is ridiculous. You know, you only have so many, places to get service provided from. And it was Tom Wheeler, who was, under Obama, the chairman for him. He had these privacy rules enacted with the FCC last October. So having these turned over, if this resolution passes through the White House, which likely seems it will at this point, whoever you have for an ISP, they will have free reign to collect and sell personal data along to third parties. So,
and it's already happening anyway.
Yeah, I mean it is, but now they're going to have no limitations, no, nothing to hold them back. Basically, nothing will be limited. There's nothing that's private. At least at this point, there's. It's basically with consumers will be left with zero protection against price gouging, and you're not going to have any advocacy for net neutrality. And less control over your own data. I mean, you're going to have more personal information out there. Things you don't want people to know. All right, so you're a male that's 30 years old that lives on the East Coast. Okay, but now they're going to know, well, he also only eats this by searching. No,
you're going to
what you search for your diet.
You're going to see sites pop up. They're like when you search it, it's going to tell you, like, it's going to break down like what you search for and shit and everything. It's going to, like, imagine, the tag box, if you know how to do it, how you can look at the tags on the YouTube video. It's going to be like tags underneath you, like sports, WWE, anyporn.com, like everything you always search. Those are going to start to pop up and you're going to see that shit.
And they're going to follow you from spot to spot. So not only are you going to get personalized ads that are tailored just for you, but it's also going to influence on what you buy. And then they're also going to see, well, you're going to go purchase something, so they can skyrocket that because they know your purchase history and what you're basically, they can insinuate what you're going to do before you do it.
Here's what you have to do.
It's like a precog from Minority Report.
It is Minority Report. Anybody who's listening to this and you're freaked out right now,
that's based on 1984.
The couple things that you can do. First of all, get a VPN. Second of all, internet, use the incognito or private browser. I mean, it's kind of like it does protect.
I mean, even that
bit.
doesn't really matter much, but it does help.
But also
somewhat.
get a VPN. So get a VPN, get that. And I don't know, you can't really sort of be somebody else because all these websites where you sign up for are going to inevitably ask for your actual billing address and stuff because it needs it. So, I don't know what to tell you about that. You're just screwed. Go to there's no way to avoid it. You're going to be forced. You are forced to pretty much do all these things if you want to take advantage of any of these services. The only way to completely go off the grid is to go off the grid and say, well, I'm just going to go to Stop and Shop and whatever the fuck. And even there, if you want to sign up for one of their keys, I'm not that worried. I don't care because to me, like, I'm pretty much not going to do anything wrong. But even think about this.
Mark of the beast.
Yeah, right. But think about, and you're right. But I'm still talking about it because it is. Because there's going to be people out there that get fucked who didn't do anything. But here's the thing. This freaked me out the other day. I was listening to this about the Howard Stern show. Artie Lang, this is from years ago. Artie Lang, they basically made jokes about like, oh, you got the same dealer I have for that cocaine or whatever the fuck. Or, hey, I bought that hooker last week. And they made jokes like that on the air. There were cops that showed up at the fucking radio station to question him about it. I
heard about that.
There was a missing body or something, and Artie was like, yeah, that's him. She's in my basement. And the cops showed up to question him about it, to be like, which one? Because we're looking at a missing person right now. And he was like, what the fuck? So, I mean, this guy is clearly, it's a joke. I mean, first of all, like, I'm doing this, we're doing Shame on News, but when I'm doing my other show, I say crazy stuff on there, and I'm a character. So you're telling me the cops would show up to talk to me when I'm a character? Are they going to show up to fucking ask Arnold Schwarzenegger about all the people he killed? I mean, so it's...
Yeah, really. I mean, it's similar to that teenager in, what was it? No, not Syracuse. That was a different one. Where he basically said online in
Florida.
Some message form for a video game where he said he was going to blow up the school or,
that was
something like that.
That was way more specific. I believe that kid...
No, I know it was, but he didn't even, like, he said it in a joking term, but, immediately they knew who he was. They had all access to everything.
Is he still in
at
jail?
your door.
Is he still in jail? He was in jail like 7 months. There was a change.org email sent to me where the mother was pleading with everyone. He'd still been in jail after 7 months.
And that I'm not sure. I'm trying to find it online now. I mean,
this
I wish I had more
motherfucker's in jail for 7 months, but Zimmerman's walking around. I mean, like, and you can argue, that's a whole other argument. But I mean, my point is, this kid made a thing. I don't know. It's hard to say because people do this stuff. So for this kid to say that, but again, he didn't do anything, so you can't. You know what I mean? You can't arrest him. It's the same argument as like people that want to get rid of all the guns. Well, okay, or have safe zones. Well, fine, have a safe zone. Then the guy that's crazy is going to come and kill you all in the safe zone. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
A safe zone's an imaginary fucking thing to make you feel better. But guess what, motherfucker? Someone's going to shoot you in the head. It's to make you feel better. It's this. It's no talking about. I mean, somewhat it is. I mean, I get it. Here's my point: either have a safe zone, either don't have a safe zone, or have a safe zone, but have fucking an unbelievable security. Like nobody can get in without a metal detector, and somebody will buy a plastic gun if they have to. Someone will bring in. There'll be chemical warfare at some point because someone wants to kill people. I mean, people just figure out a way. You know what I mean? It's just like Jurassic Park. The nature finds a way. Well, insane finds a fucking way too. Look at the guy in London. That motherfucker was like, oh, I don't got a gun? Well, I'm going to run some people over and then stab some motherfuckers too. And by the way, I believe you. Did he end up being a white guy, by the way?
Yeah, he mowed down pedestrians with a car
No,
and then
it wasn't
fatally
a
stabbing a
white guy.
police officer.
Who was it? Wait.
Want to
They
take a
just
wild
said-
guess?
Well, I mean, I thought it was going to be Islamic terrorism, but
Well, your guess is correct because that is what statistically happens these days.
well, wait a minute. No, I'm talking about the guy in London. Was he
Yeah.
white?
No,
No.
he was not white.
Nope, not at all.
He was not a nationalist. He was not a Pepe supporter. He wasn't a Trump lover. He was an Islamic terrorist.
Really? Because Leah
Yeah.
told me the opposite earlier. She came running in being like, guess what?
No, he was already. His name is Khalid Massoud. He's 52.
Correct.
He's the Islamic
born in-
State group claimed the British-born suspect, and he is
he
one of their
British-born?
soldiers.
Is he British
He
born?
believed the assailant to be who plowed through pedestrians in a car on the Westminster Bridge on Wednesday, then ran towards the Parliament compound
Okay,
with
she
a
was
knife,
half right.
which he used to fatally wound a
She was
police
half
officer
right. So
until
he
shot by
well, he was
police.
not an immigrant though. He lived there,
He
but
was
it
born
was
there.
Islamic
He was
terrorism.
what they call naturally radicalized,
Yep.
which again is a
Oh,
joke.
they called him a lone wolf on the news here.
But he was already being investigated by their version of our CIA, the MI5 there.
Every time these guys are investigating somebody, they don't get to it before he kills a bunch of people.
I mean, same thing with the Boston bombing.
The Boston
you know?
bombing. Russia
Which
tried
is
to
a
tell
great
us,
way to enact even
9/11.
more rules and more laws to try to stifle free speech and protection of your citizens. Is basically to have somebody under observation, let them commit an attack, and say, "Oh, we need even more laws."
Well, I was asking a question on a video the other. We asked a question months ago because CNN was basically complaining about a white lash as far as white people voting, and that's why Trump got elected, trying to paint it that way. So it appeared to be slightly racist. So we asked the question, is CNN racist? And we had a show about it. Well, YouTube decided that that was not advertiser friendly and demonetized the video. Now, my video that said, Trump might have a pussy, in which we talked about maybe Trump has a cunt, and we did all these other swears and terrible things, and we made jokes about Trump, but we really were just joking because, again, I was kind of rooting for Trump in many ways because he was the anti-establishment. I didn't vote, to be honest. I'll disclose again, I didn't vote. But that video is fine. So that video, swearing, cunt, no dick, like we really put up some fucked up imagery on that video. That video had more views than the CNN. Is CNN racist? That video is still monetized. However, our question, is CNN racist? That has been demonetized. So just to let you know. Immediately. And I also made a video yesterday that showed you what's trending on YouTube. Now, listen, again, you've heard from this show that we've talked about that I've been fairly on the liberal side with things today. However, clearly YouTube is on the liberal side of things too, because every day their trending videos are from NBC, MSNBC, CNN, MTV, and BuzzFeed. And where is
we know
Fox?
that they're liberal because, look at everything that happened with CNN buying out Casey Neistat, and then everything that went down with PewDiePie, and now YouTube, they're, like you said, their trending page always leans towards the left as well.
Now, one thing I just want to quickly say is that, again, we use these words liberal and conservative and stuff, but the problem is those are the terms that they want us to use because then we can be more divided. I was talking to Joe, before we started this, and the fact is, if you really want to count it, I'm not the hardcore conservative that people see me as because I do have social leaning. So it's not The
Well, the
problem
new-
is they want us to be
Dave,
divided. They
Dave,
want
the-
us to call each other that.
Well, Dave, the new dirty word is alt-right. And it even
It
sounds
is.
kind of Nazi-like, so they really like it.
Yeah, with the wild Pepe memes, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, like, that's the thing.
And that's
See,
why I said globalists
Neo-Nazi.
versus
Free thinkers,
Americans, because Americans can have diverse views and not fucking get into these fights. Because you might be, a registered Republican, or you just might have conservative leanings, but it doesn't mean that you'll necessarily try to shut down someone who leans to the left, who calls themselves a liberal. But the problem is those that go to the hardcore extreme, Democrat and Republican, they're not left or right. They're extreme to the point of being called globalist. That's why I don't like these terms. And I've used them in the past, but in reality, it's us versus them. I know that Bush did try to, use that argument and stuff, but it really is Americans of both sides of the spectrum and all between, and those that want to see America destroyed. And that's why I refer to them as globalists, because they could be on the left or right. They just don't care. They just want to see America destroyed.
Well, I'm an even weirder individual because when it comes to abortion, I believe that it's a woman's right to choose. However, I also believe that if it's rape or something against their will or something like that, or there's the baby's going to be a fucking like a fucking monster or something, obviously abortion should be considered. However, I am not for just any abortion. Okay, go for it. Absolutely not. I think like there should be a rule where like we monitor an individual. Okay, Nancy made a mistake and she's elected. She feels she's not going to be competent enough to handle a child and blah, 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 and she's going to get an abortion. Okay, that's one. First time is a mistake. The next time, you're not gonna fucking have 5 abortions. There's girls out here who go, time to go to the abortion clinic again for the 4th or 5th or 6th time. You talk about taxpayer dollars. You talk about money, healthcare, and perhaps murder if you believe certain things about where and to be honest, it is killing a life form of some sort. It is. I mean, that's just but has it developed to where that really that's the argument. But I'm fine within the 3 months or before or whatever it is. And
you're really filling this fucking episode full of controversy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. but see, that's my thing. Is like I don't agree with just raise the kid to think like it's no big deal. Abortion, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, you're just my rapist kid. It's nothing new. Like again, like this is a really really hard topic, and we really are digging deep today. But I mean, I'm along the lines of you are in the sense that there are certain situations where I would say abortion would be necessary, or at least I don't know if ethically correct. The problem is we're really blurring the lines here. But
yeah, I
again,
know, but
incest and rape, I don't accept those. But the thing is, though, I've watched an actual abortion. They're not pretty sights, and I do believe that at conception that is life.
Yeah, I
some
believe
people
that
don't.
too. I believe that too. And here's the reason why I believe that is because not because of God or religion or because I don't believe in any of that. I'm very science minded.
But you don't have to take that side. You can take an atheist side if you want.
I'm taking a science side. That sperm, that egg, and they start to produce something. It is a part of life. It is growing. It's like a chicken, laying an egg and the thing hasn't hatched yet. And you just take it and you throw it against a wall. Did you just kill that chicken?
But you made a great point. Is the fact that for the 4th, 5th, 6th time, again, abortion should not be used as birth control. There are pills for that, but I mean, I agree that if you're taking this to the point where you think that an abortion is just nothing, and you keep having them, that's a big concern, in my opinion. Not only psychologically for that person, but for all the lives that they may potentially be ending due to their action. It could be mental illness. It could be several different reasons, but I just don't agree with the idea that has been pushed on us that abortion can work just like birth control. I mean, having a child is such an important and big decision that it really shouldn't be taken as lightly as people seem to be taking it, because abortion is so easy to get. And that's why a lot of these leftists, these extreme globalists, I should say, are pushing for abortion, is because if you force people to be accountable for their actions, they might think twice.
Yeah, this will make you think like, if you have an abortion, you want it to be like, and you don't want to shame. I'm not talking about like, I don't want to shame women. I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. I know that's what fucking Mr. Indiana did, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to shame you, like, but you also want to but you don't also want to reward it almost or make it seem like no big deal. A little bit of, and I know this is gonna, Leah would probably be really mad at me, but a little bit of a shame needs to sort of take place for you
Of course.
because then you'll be like, well, I'll never do that again. And, if years later you're telling somebody, I really had a bad experience. What was the experience? Well, I had to get an abortion one time. It's like, oh my God, wow. But it's like nowadays, if somebody was like talking to me and was like, yeah, I was going to have a kid, but then I had an abortion, I'd be like, oh, yeah. I mean, well, it makes sense if you weren't ready. That's how the conversation would go.
Here's the problem is then I'm split now. And this is a really, you know what? This is going to be a very hard topic to discuss, but I have so much respect for women that at least have the courage to put their children up for adoption.
I was adopted too, so thank you.
That's why I'm talking about this, bro. But, I mean, they may have not had the ability to raise the child the way that they thought was appropriate, to give them that life that they really deserve. Because everyone, no matter where they're born, who they're born, how they're born, they deserve that 100% ability to take advantage of life and to live a good, fulfilling life. Those women that have that strength to carry their child to term, to give birth to that child, and have that strength to unfortunately give up their child for adoption, hats off to those ladies, because those are heroes there. Those are true. Yeah. They're not going, oh, I'm going to have an abortion because I made a mistake. They're saying, you know what? I have to deal with this, but I have to do what's right as well. You don't have to look at through religious ways. You don't have to look at through agnostic ways, atheist ways. It just, to me, that is the rightest thing that anybody can do.
There's millions of families that can't have
so
children.
Much respect. Exactly. So many people that just have that desire to raise a child, to help, to convey their knowledge of life so that they can then improve somebody else's life and then continue on what we've been doing as humans for thousands of years. So much respect. So much respect.
I'm not anti-abortion whatsoever, but I have an issue with some things. Like Connecticut, I can cite it right here. It's on, the website. I'm reading it directly. Connecticut does not have any major types of abortion restrictions, such as waiting periods, mandated parental involvement, or limitations on publicly funded abortions, often found in other states. And I know someone personally, their grandson got pregnant at a young age. The girl, he got pregnant. They were going to keep it, and into the third trimester, she decided, you know what, I don't want to do this, and got the abortion.
Oh, God, no.
Wow.
And to me, that's was
too
just
far, yeah.
too much to handle. I mean, I believe it, like right at the third trimester. I'm trying to. It was past 20 weeks. I know that much. So it was like 24 weeks.
See, I'm the kind of person that I don't think she's a murderer, but I think that is kind of sickening.
But kids have been born premature at that age, and they've grown out to be amazing individuals.
Yeah, perhaps
she was 27 to 28 weeks. My young cousin was born 5 months premature. So, she was 4, 8, 12, 16. She was 20 weeks behind. So, that's you're 40 weeks. So she was only halfway done, per se, if you want to put it that way. And she grew up fine. She was no bigger than a Barbie doll. My uncle, obviously this was his daughter. My uncle's wedding ring went all the way up her arm like a bracelet. She was less than 13 ounces. She was literally smaller than a Barbie doll. It's this small little thing that you can hold in the palm of one hand.
Wow.
And she survived, and she had open heart surgery twice. She went through a lot. And now she's this, beautiful 21-year-old girl who, has the world at her fingertips.
Well,
and to think that she was 20 or 21 weeks at that point when she was born, and the mother almost didn't make it, and all this, to see somebody getting an abortion at 27, 28 weeks. And, it's very hard for me personally, again, because I have such a personal involvement with the issue. I understand why people get an abortion and especially if it's from rape or you don't think you can handle it, you're not in a financial stable situation. But if you can carry it to term and give it up for abortion, I mean, there's all these places that you don't even have to say
adoption.
anything.
It's
Carrie.
Well,
I
you
think
can literally
Dave,
take the baby to the fire department, the
Wait,
police
you
station.
said carry to
it's-
term and then
but
abort.
I think the problem is here's the thing. Here's what you're not
Yeah,
thinking
you-
about. Here, the emotional toll that it does take on women. That's why what Dave said is that those women are like heroes because
Oh, absolutely.
or they're cold as fuck because you know what? There is no. It's torturous probably for a woman to like have the baby be forced. Right? Let's say it's forced. They have to have it. They're forced to have the baby, and then they have to give it up. It would be just like the most torturous thing ever. So that's where
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
like,
It could be mentally life ruining. I mean,
But-
women go through postpartum depression just having children. Imagine that and not having your baby. I
but
mean,
that's different. That's that one girl. You know, like let's say Leah. Leah would have a real problem with that. Like, oh my god, it would be horrible if there was. Let's say there was no abortion and she had to have one of the kids. You know, it'd be the worst thing ever. But like, But if this is one of these people that like, oh, this is their fourth abortion, that person doesn't give a shit. You know, that person.
One of the
exactly. That's what I was
biggest
getting into. For those that use it as like a backup of contraception, like, you know, they don't use birth control or condoms, and for them, oh, I can just do Plan B, and if that fails, Plan C is the abortion. Fuck it. You know, it's only a couple $100. I'll go through with it. I'll make the baby daddy pay. You know, those women, that's what makes me sick. And that's the problem.
Yeah, they have
And
to
that's
stop
a
that.
big portion of the drain on the social services of women that that have been encouraged
Yeah.
to essentially have children through multiple parents and then claim these tax credits and all this money. And instead of basically having society promote that it is good to have two parents in a family, and you know, one supports, one raises.
Listen to this,
and
Dave. This is going to blow your mind. Statistics, according to these statistics, which we don't know how true they are, but it's a thing released by the Medical Agency of America. So 200,000 women have had two or more abortions. 200,000 within 2011 to 2016. So that's, and most of them cost $15,000, right? So that's
15,000.
yeah, 15,000.
My God.
So that's what was that? $3 trillion, right? Or $3 billion.
Yeah, billion, yeah.
That's $3 billion, right there for people that made a mistake once already, and then made another one, and maybe another one, and maybe another one. Which is, I mean, you know, you're an asshole. I don't know what to do about it though. Like, I mean, like as far as like what's the word? Not human rights, but as far as you know, what do you do? I mean, what if some of those women may be deranged mentally? I mean, you can't. You know, it's just as bad.
As crazy as it sounds, you know, the Christian conservatives, you know, the fundamentalists, they say, you know, every life has value, and basically they have a point there, because what can we do? We
Right.
can re-emphasize the fact that every life has value, and that maybe we should be thinking about these sorts of things into the future rather than thinking for short-term solutions. The problem is North American society has just gotten so used to pills and Band-Aids and all these quick fixes that we don't think about the long-term and the long-term repercussions as to maybe how we should reassess our actions, you know, to make it better all around. I mean, you know, the Western world keeps saying, "Oh, we don't have enough people to fill in all these jobs and stuff, so we have to get you know, all these immigrants in." Well, if there weren't all these abortions, we probably would have enough workforce so that we could fill these jobs and not have to hire foreigners and stuff.
I agree. We got to get out of here, guys. We've went way over the limit here, way over the time limit. We may break this up in episodes. I don't even know. But it's been great.
But people got their money's worth today. That's
Yeah,
for
this
damn
was-
sure.
Absolutely.
This was a badass podcast of an hour and 20 minutes. Thank you to Jake for coming in late from his medical issues, and he's at Countdown Ended on Twitter. Dave is at Devious Dave Rose on Twitter, and I am at Shame on News on Twitter. If you want to tweet us at Shame on News, we'll read those. Hope you guys can subscribe, like, comment down below. What do you think? Do you want more episodes like this? If you actually made it through this entire fucking thing, please, on the bottom, I want you to write politically aroused. Politically aroused. I want you to write that. I'll know you
I
got
like
through this
it.
whole show. That was very fun.
love
Thank
it.
you guys. Subscribe for more videos like this daily, plus an announcement about a podcast format that's going to come out so you can download on iTunes and shit like that. And there will be more discussions coming. Hope you liked it. Again, let us know, and subscribe and share and tell all your friends, and maybe post the videos with controversial title, and then maybe all your friends will jump on board and want to listen to this show too. Thank you. You guys have been listening to Shame on News, and we could use your assistance because obviously Google and YouTube are trying to shut down any free thought or debate that we have, especially here on Shame on News. Therefore, many times we do not get paid. So you guys can support us by going to the main page and donating directly to us using PayPal. Most of us work pretty hard jobs and obviously have to take care of people and do things. None of us are rich or we wouldn't be asking for this, but you can support us by going to the main page on YouTube and clicking PayPal donate if you feel inclined to do that. Otherwise, just feel free to like, comment, and share the videos and spread the word. Thank you very much for any support you can give us. And thank you to Tom Brierly, who has supported us last week. Thank you so much for that support, Tom. I know you didn't really want to be mentioned too much, but we did want to say something for you. Thanks for listening to Shame on News. More Shame on News now.